college students' perspective on college success. Before we begin, I'd like to just share the mission statement of the Knowledge Community and encourage all of you to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter, which I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But the mission of the Student Leadership Program Knowledge Community is to serve as a resource for higher education professionals. And these professionals usually have an interest in young adult leadership training, education, and development. We share best practices. We share with one another how to assess some of these programs that we have, and we talk about ways to bring new programs to campus, which is what we'll be talking about today. If you feel so inclined to do some live tweeting or chatting, or if at a later time you'd like to follow either the Knowledge Community or the organization who will be speaking today, this is the information. The Knowledge Community is at NASPA SLPKC on Twitter, and you can find us on Facebook under SA Lead. And on Twitter, I'm First Gen is the organization that will be represented today, and on Facebook, the same, I'm First Gen is how you find them on Facebook. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our three speakers this afternoon. Matt Rubinoff is the Executive Director of the Center for Student Opportunity, a national nonprofit he founded in 2005 to provide information, inspiration, support, and scholarships to first-generation college students. Leslie Pendleton was named Director of the Machen, and you'll have to correct me, Leslie, when you come on how to pronounce that, Machen, Florida Opportunity Scholars Program in 2009. Before that, she served as an assistant director in new student and family programs in the Dean of Students office at the University of Florida. And finally, Priscilla Moreno is currently the first generation student programs coordinator at the University of Redlands. Prior to her appointment, she was serving on as a college counselor with Uncommon Schools, a charter network that starts and manages outstanding urban charter public schools that close the achievement gap. And with that, I'd like to ask Matt to begin with the presentation. Thank you, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Roseanne. We're really excited to present to you all today. Thanks, everyone, again, for taking time out of your day to join us. When Roseanne initially invited us to give this webinar and we started planning for it, I realized that we didn't really just want to make this a sales pitch for our work, and trying to cover the many best practices and innovative approaches that we are seeing colleges take to successfully recruit and retain first-generation college students today can't really be condensed into a one-hour webinar. It probably deserves a multi-day conference, and maybe that's something that we'll be able to pull off in the future. So while I am going to give a short commercial about CSO and how we partner with colleges and universities to support their efforts on behalf of first-generation college students, I'm also going to turn it over to two of our esteemed colleagues and college partners to talk specifically about their campus's first-gen programs and how they are successfully incorporating student leadership training and leadership development into their work. After all, this is the Student Leadership Programs Knowledge Community, so I'm guessing that's really what's going to be of most interest to you in your day-to-day work. But first, I'd like to begin by offering some context for this conversation and why it's so important for us to all help first-generation college students really think more critically and ask themselves the question, what's in it for me? When thinking about not just where they want to go to college, but how they're going to be successful once there and reach the real goal, which is college graduation. So I think we can all agree today that there's something special about being the first in your family to attend and graduate from college. There are more than 15 million students enrolled in post-secondary institutions today. 4.5 million of them are low-income first-generation college students. Unfortunately, 9 out of every 10 will not earn a bachelor's degree by the age of 24. That's a problem. The issue, in our opinion, is not so much that first-generation college students lack the the motivation or qualification for college, but more so that too often they lack access to good information and support to navigate the college process, and perhaps more importantly, to access the colleges that are most committed to their success. Framed another way, perhaps the issue can be put, or some blame can be put on colleges in saying that we're not doing enough in the higher ed community to intentionally cater to the unique needs and challenges that come with being a first-generation college student. So that's where we come in to an extent. We'd like to think that CSO is part of the solution. CSO partners with four-year colleges and universities to support their efforts on behalf of first-generation college students, and we create tools to help first-gen plan for and succeed in college. We know that so many four-year colleges and universities, like the ones you represent, care deeply about first-gen students. They can be accessible and affordable options for them, and certainly give students the best shot at being successful in and out of the classroom and graduating. But the challenge is really making sure that the students and their supporters believe it. All too often, we see high-achieving, motivated students choose post-secondary options that aren't the ones that are really most conducive to their success, simply because that's what they believe to be the only realistic, attainable, or affordable options for them. So our goal, first and foremost, is to help aspiring first-generation college students realize that good college opportunities do exist for them at four-year colleges, particularly at schools that have campus programs and support services to help them succeed academically, socially, and financially too. But at the same time, our program delivers real value and benefits for our partner institution. We help our college partners reach prospective students, promote and strengthen their efforts on behalf of first-gen college students, and we help colleges share and build upon best practices for successfully recruiting and retaining first-gen students. So how do we do that? Well, our flagship initiative is imfirst.org. In 2013, we were fortunate enough to win a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that helped us launch imfirst.org. It's an online community that is celebrating first-generation college students and supporting the next generation of students who are working hard to reach that goal. We've received a warm reception from students, schools, youth-serving organizations, and even some media, and have quickly become a leading voice and resource for the first-gen movement. imfirst.org is first and foremost a college search tool that's designed with first-gens in mind, unique from other popular college search tools. The profiles of our partner colleges and universities really help students answer that question, that most essential question of what's in it for me as a first-generation college student. So we focus the college profile information on highlighting important campus programs and opportunities for first-gens. For example, do they have a fly-in program for prospective students, or a summer bridge program for incoming students, or do they have peer mentoring on campus that's going to help me persist to graduation? The facts and figures on the college profile also highlight important student diversity, student success, affordability, and admissions metrics. Beyond that, for 6 years now, we've been awarding scholarships to first-gen college students who are maturing to our college partner institutions, and in turn, these scholarship winners are chronicling their college experiences and giving advice on the imfirst.org blog. The success of our student blog has really spoken to us about how hungry students are, especially first-gens, for encouragement and advice from their peers, those that they can personally identify with, and even in a virtual way, have come before them in their pursuit of college. Lastly, imfirst.org is also a storytelling project we're collecting YouTube video stories from first-gen college students and graduates from across the country. Stories are coming from current students, successful graduates across many careers, college deans and presidents, and even some familiar faces like the First Lady, Michelle Obama. Together, these stories are really inspiring and offering advice to the next generation of students who will be first. And our college partners have been really great about rallying their campus communities behind the effort. Some, like Bucknell University, are not only creating videos for our campaign, but they're hosting them on their own website as well, which we love to see. So I want to encourage everybody on the webinar today, whether you ultimately join our partnership or not, to participate in our Stories campaign and share this opportunity with your first-gen campus community and help us create videos and put a face to who are first-generation college students and graduates. Beyond our website, we also publish a college guidebook, the I'm First Guide to College, which is uniquely designed for first-generation college students as well. It includes a college planning curriculum with articles, activities, and even some worksheets. And similar to the website, the college partner profile, again, highlights the important campus programs and opportunities for first-gen. To further promote our college partners to a national audience, we distribute newsletters that reach over 40,000 students, counselors, and college access providers. Our monthly Opportunity Knocks newsletter highlights opportunities for first-gen students on our college campus communities, and we also promote these actively over social media. And last but not least, and I think this is really what is most interesting to you guys, being on the student support side for the most part, is that as a community of peers, we're also facilitating opportunities for our college partners to share with one another and exchange ideas, best practices, successful models, and innovative approaches. Last year we launched the CSO College Partner Exchange listserv, where we also host webinars on partner-driven topics to be able to spotlight institutions who excel in certain unique ways at recruiting and retaining first-gen students. And soon we're going to start publishing white papers to document these findings and these lessons learned as an added benefit to our college partners and our own knowledge community, as it were. So I'm pleased to have two of our college partners join us today to share how they are helping first-gen students on their campus find success and answer the question, what's in it for me as a first-gen student, with a focus on how they have integrated student leadership programming into their work. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Leslie.
Great. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. So I'm Leslie Pendleton. I'm at the University of Florida here in Gainesville, and starting in 2006, we began what's now called the Match in Florida Opportunity Scholars Program. So kudos to Roseanne, you got it right there at the beginning. So our program here at Florida is both a scholarship and a support program for first-generation low-income students here. They are all Florida residents. We are partially state-funded, so that is one caveat that I'll mention. We serve at any given time, as you can see, 1,250 scholars who are current students in the program. We have about 1,700 alumni now who have completed their bachelor's degrees as part of our program. We also, about 3 years ago, recognized that there were more than 1,250 students here at the University of Florida who are undergrads who fit the first-gen low-income profile, but we were unable to fund through scholarships funding to be part of our program. And so we have, in the last 3 years, expanded our support mechanisms to all first-generation college students at UF, which is not a bound program, so that is kind of one of the challenges. We don't have them as opportunity scholars, but we do recognize and support them as first-generation students. That's one of our big pieces is we really want to celebrate, to echo kind of what Matt said, celebrate their pride around being a first-generation student and being that trailblazer and being first in their family to go to college. We employ a strengths-based approach to working with our scholars. We really want to celebrate their successes, recognize maybe where there's some challenges, but help provide them and connect them to the resources here on campus to really celebrate their success. And I'm very proud to say that our scholars, 85% of them graduate in 6 years, which definitely is a very promising and high number compared nationally. So by and large, our scholars are doing great things while they're here. So I do want to spend the majority of the time talking about some of those specific leadership development things that we do for our students here on our campus, but to just give some foundational grounding to kind of our philosophy and what we focus our initiatives around. One is confidence building. Being first in your family to go to college, as many of us know, can be pretty daunting, and there's a lot of unwritten and hidden rules about functioning in college and understanding who to ask, understanding, what drop add period means, for instance, what the registrar is. I mean, those are pretty foreign concepts if no one in your family has been there to blaze the trail for you. And so we really want to help our scholars develop the confidence to advocate for themselves and figure out how to navigate campus effectively while they're here. Developing their story is another really important part. That narrative component that Matt mentioned also is something that we really care about and pay attention to. We want our scholars to find pride in being first gen and understand what that means. And so we provide intentional opportunities, which I'll talk about one here in a minute, to help them understand, claim, capture, and then tell how that first generation identity is so important to who they are as people and as who they are as college students, and then future employees or graduate or professional school students. I mean, how does that translate into life after college? So we do, I didn't share a ton of data through my slides, but I'm happy to follow up with folks if you're interested. We do, I think, a very good job of collecting assessment data and some focus groups recently. We're kind of in graduation season now, and so we have recently completed some focus groups with our graduating seniors, and pretty unprompted, I would say, they regularly recognize the value of that first generation identity and what that meant for them here while they were on campus. And then they also tell us that they used that piece of who they are when they were talking to employers or graduate schools or professional schools. So they've incorporated it into their interviews, and not in a way to elicit pity or shame or make your interviewer, shed a tear necessarily, but help to really understand like who they are and what that identity means. And for many of them, that means they're very, hard workers. They are gracious people. They really understand where they've come from, and they've used that as a strength as opposed to something that would hold them back. And then this next slide down here, there's a slight little typo right there. That question mark is supposed to be an arrow. And this is maybe not rocket science, but I think it's important to remember that not only are these students first in their families to go to college, but we say this all the time, they're first to graduate from college too. And so while it's so important to, provide access and really focus on our new students and our transition into college, it's almost equally, we believe, important to help prepare them to transition out of college. And we assume everybody, when they're coming in the door, is that they're going to graduate. We have high expectations, and we want to help them not only be successful while they're here, but successful once they transition out of college. So again, I'm kind of talking out of two different things here. We have the organized program, which are the Match and Floor Opportunity Scholars, and then we also try to outreach to all first-generation low-income students at UF too. So we do have requirements to continue to maintain the scholarship component. So we do have, again, that bound audience that we can require that they attend some of these things. And then we open a lot of these things up to non-opportunity scholars as well. But as you can imagine, probably have a little bit tougher time, getting them connected because there's no carrot there necessarily, other than the growth and development that they'll receive, and we really try to market those opportunities in that way. So we intentionally structure our workshop series based on where our students are in the college experience. So really want to make sure that our scholars, because they are getting a good amount in scholarship dollars to be here at UF, that they are making wise choices with their money. So we do provide a two-part financial literacy series that all first-year students have to complete. Each year we have about 300 incoming students, so we manage to make sure that all 300 complete 2 workshops there. Into their second year, we require a two-part career planning workshop. The one in the fall is about resume development and resume building, and then part 2 is really about finding and securing internships, picking a career that really meshes well with your strengths and your values. All of that piece is kind of woven into that second part of the career planning workshop. Third year is more of an a la carte menu, as we call it. Life planning, we offer 10 to 15, a variety of workshops, and then students can opt which one they would like to attend. So you can see a couple of the ones that we've done in the last year listed there. And then another part is we do provide etiquette dinners, again, for our first-generation students, not to think that they don't know how to, eat with a spoon, a knife, and a fork, but we really want to build that confidence that when they are on an internship or a job interview, that they, aren't too stressed about which fork to use or how to pass the bread. They're more focused on really, telling their stories and connecting with the people across the table. So as you can imagine, those tend to be pretty popular. Yes, we do provide the food. The First Generation Summit is something we just started this fall, so we've really only done it once, but had really pretty good success. This was open to all First Generation students, undergraduate students here at the university. We had 50 participants who attended. We are open to growing that number. We had space for more, but we thought for year one, 50 was pretty good. The goal of the summit was to help our scholars and first-gen students develop ways to tell their story as an empowering way. And so some of the highlights from that summit, and I should also say, I'm happy to follow up individually with folks if you want the actual day of schedule or, the cost or how we made this happen. I can totally talk logistics at another time. But the highlights of that summit were developing your narrative workshop. We had a doctoral student who was working on his dissertation on narrative and storytelling, and so he came in and did a really good, I think, 101, how to claim and create your narrative. And then we partnered with our Dial Center for Written and Oral Communication, and they came in and talked to students about public speaking skills. Now, narrative is not always speaking related, but we wanted to help, again, build that confidence for them to not only think about, understand their story, but then actually tell the story to others. And then probably my favorite part of the summit was our first generation career professional and employer. We actually, I believe he was from CVS, came and as an employer here connected to the Career Resource Center and said, I was first generation, here's a little bit about my story, here's how I was able to become successful in my journey. And then we had a Career Resource Center professional who also is a first generation student talk about how to capture and tell that first generation story through an interview process. So very tangible, practical skills for our scholars. And then finally, the Fossil Experience, Florida Opportunity Scholars Academy of Leadership. This is our year-long leadership institute. We have about 70 participants that are with us January to November. We're targeting third and fourth year scholars, again, with the intentionality of helping them prepare for life after college and transition out of the university. We kick off with a weekend retreat where we have small group facilitators who are a wide variety of professionals all across campus. We actually have a couple of our Opportunity Scholars alumni who came back and facilitated this year for the first time. They feel they're old enough to kind of give something back and have a little bit of wisdom to pass down, and so that was pretty unique to see this year. And then our participants, the 70 participants, attend 6 workshops throughout the year, and those workshops are a variety of things like interviewing skills, preparing for grad school, all of that. And then they also like the summer experience. They go off and practice these leadership skills that they've developed. They go on internships, they go abroad, they volunteer, and then they come back when we get started in the fall and do a symposium where they actually have experience presenting about that summer. And so the real emphasis over the course of the year is on personal and professional development. We conclude with a banquet where they get a medal that they can wear at graduation, which is pretty terrific. I should also say again, because it's graduation season, the University of Florida, about 5 years ago now, we started offering specific first-generation cords. They are for purchase. They're about $15 that students can purchase through the bookstore to wear as they cross the stage to celebrate being first generation. Oh, I'm sorry, I have one more quick thing. The Life Coach is another opportunity that we offer to our third and fourth year students to be prepared with a trained faculty staff person here on campus to really strategize about what's next. Again, many of you may have considered this before, but if not, our scholars generally, or what we find are our first generation students on campus, they don't have that built-in professional familial network. So, for instance, rarely do we hear our scholars say, oh yeah, this summer I'm going home to intern with my mom's friend who's an accountant. They don't really have those connections necessarily, and we try not to, present that as a deficit necessarily, but we say let's use our time intentionally in college to develop some of those networking opportunities with some professionals that can help provide some of that guidance. And so our life coaches really are, I think, a lifeline in many cases for some of our students who are pretty panicked or nervous about what those next steps are going to be. My students would probably laugh, but I always say, life for a lot of you has been kind of planned out. You do elementary school, you do middle school, you do high school, and then again, many of our students are very academically kind of talented and driven, but don't have the means or the social capital or cultural capital to get to college. And so when then they're in college, and then now it's like after college, those choose your own adventure, like what are you going to do next? And so these life coaches really help plan or help them plan. They don't do it for them, but they help give them that guidance about what's next. So there's our contact information. I know that there's some more information at the back. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. We failed to put it into the slide, but FOS@UF is our Twitter handle, so we're pretty active in that way. So at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Priscilla, my colleague at the University of Redlands. Here comes Priscilla.
Thanks, Leslie. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good afternoon. So really quickly, I just wanted to start off by giving some demographic information about the U of R. So we are private, non-denominational. We have about 5,000 students here at the university. About 2,700 of those students are undergrads. 85% of our students receive financial aid in some capacity, although that number is actually a little bit closer to 90. 40% of our students identify as student of color, and 32% of our students are first generation. I want to provide you all a little bit of context as to where and how our first generation student programs operate. So our FGS runs out of our Department for Campus Diversity and Inclusion. We have 3 physical spaces. So we have the Women's Center, Multicultural Center, and the Pride Center, and several programmatic areas that you can see listed below. So our FGS programs are one of them. Hopefully everyone can kind of see this graphic well. So we refer to our first generation student support services as the completing the cycle programs. So while we do offer a summer bridge program for entering first-year students, as well as K through 12 programs, both in our IGTC, so our I'm Going to College, and our SEEDS program, for the purposes of today, the What's in It for Me topic, I'm going to specifically discuss a little bit more of our leadership training programs that we call STEP, which you can see highlighted in red. And so there are 2 iterations of our STEP program, which is Students Together Empowering Peers. We have a fall peer mentoring program and then a spring training program. So our fall program was established in fall 2003. As of this fall, we had 51 mentees, about 37 mentors. So our mentees are our first-year students. We do offer this as a 2-credit academic course. So our students who are enrolled in the program are receiving credit for their participation. We do offer direct mentoring for our first-year students. So students who are enrolled in the course as a first-year student receive their personal peer mentor, as well as a faculty or administrative mentor. So their peer mentor is required to meet with them outside of class at least once a week, but we definitely encourage a developed relationship. And their faculty administrative mentor, we encourage at least once a month, but again, hopefully, hope to see more relationship developing with that as well. They also receive, so we have a lead mentor for each of the classes, and so that lead mentor provides feedback to every single first-year student in the form of their journaling. So students who are enrolled in the class are required to journal weekly, and they receive that feedback directly from their lead mentor. one of the unique aspects about our STEP program is that it is entirely peer-led, peer-run, peer-created. So I really just kind of sit in the back of the classroom and watch them do their thing, and it's beautiful. They are very driven students, so the entire fall semester is a wonderful just giving back to the community as well as seeing them develop. So we also have ongoing training for our mentors. So the class that the students come in, the mentees are there for about an hour and a half a week, and the mentors arrive 30 minutes before the class begins. So in that space, we are able to provide some additional professional development for our mentors, whether that be continuing to teach them how to lesson plan effectively or how to build their presentation skills, or communication with professional staff members and our faculty. Because the students run the program, it's their responsibility to reach out to the faculty members and to contact maybe other employers who want to come in and present on working with first-generation students and what our students can do to market themselves. So this 30 minutes is a professional development / prep time for our mentors to continue to work on enhancing their skills. Some of the classes we offer in the fall are campus involvement, academic advising, a lot of opportunities around financial aid, scholarship opportunities, financial resources. So that's like, budgeting, what credit cards are all about. We also offer what we call Sex Olympics. That is just about safe social life and how to navigate, college issues for any first-year student, but how those are particularly relevant for some of our first-generation students. Family issues we always kind of discuss at length because for a lot of our students, they're the first in their families to go to college, and so they're going to be navigating new and changing family relationships. And so how are they able to have those conversations? And so we have our mentors to facilitate that process for them, which is really helpful. And then study abroad is something we're really trying to push for some of our first-gen students. There's various scholarships available, and letting our first-gen students know, hey, this is something that you can afford, and this is definitely an experience that we want you to have while you're here in our university. The spring iteration of the program is our training program. So after a few semesters of seeing STEP back in the early 2000s, we decided we needed some training for our mentors to make the program a little bit more effective. So as of this spring, we had 58 mentors. It is also a 2-credit course, so our students do receive credit for the training. So our students participate in rigorous training in order to practice the skills necessary for becoming an effective mentor. In addition to their class requirements, they're also required to participate in community service activities outside of the classroom, as well as complete a certain amount of study hours each week, which we do require to actually be in the library. And again, that's more so for positive role modeling, making our community more visible, and talking about the services we provide. Every class contains a peer feedback loop in some capacity in the spring. So our mentors are learning new skills, which we'll discuss on the next slide. But they're learning new skills, and they practice those skills in small groups and then maybe larger groups and then sometimes at the front of the class. And so they are very used to, receiving feedback and also being able to provide constructive feedback so they can become better leaders. In the latter half of the semester, we focus on creating the upcoming summer bridge schedule, as well as the following fall STEP iteration curriculum. So the students have the opportunity to really create their program. Again, I kind of take this opportunity to sit back and let them work, advising as necessary. But they're always really excited to generate new ideas and to think about how we can continue to make our programs even better than what we currently offer. Some of the classes that we offer during the spring are on first-generation students, like what are they, who's represented, what do our first-gen students look like, what are retention programs, and how can we better the retention programs that we have here at the University of Redlands. Active listening, we really harped on a lot this semester. It's really important for our mentors to be able to support their mentees by actively listening to what their needs are and being able to direct them to the right resources. Presentations are a big part of our curriculum in the fall, as I said, since they run the entire fall curriculum. So being able to present and public speak is really important. So we go over that at length during the spring program. Facilitating discussion and reflection activities, this is ongoing. So during our summer bridge program, which will be in July, the mentors come a few days early before the rest of our incoming first-year students, and we continue to work on this specifically. So facilitating discussion, reflection activities, this is going to be the first exposure some of our students have to college in general, maybe even the first time coming to visit our campus, because they weren't maybe able to afford an on-campus visit from wherever they came from. We also expose our mentors to the CDI programs that we offer. So we had some prison to pipeline programs this semester that were really impactful, and our students participated in some of those opportunities. And then, of course, teaching and creating a lesson plan, because it's so important for our students to be able to practice before they're going up in front of the classroom, and how can they do that, and what can we do to help them deliver a lesson to the best of their ability. So once the students finish this course, if they have passed, which most of them did, they are then invited to participate to become a mentor for the following year. So you have to have been invited as a result of your efforts during the semester to continue to be a mentor. At the end of the semester, kind of our final, we do something called Behind Closed Doors, which many departments do in residence life, but we run through 20 different scenarios, and every student has the chance to respond to scenarios and practice what they would say and do as if they were talking to their current first-year students. So we received a lot of feedback from that, and that's been really helpful. And the scores on that really influence whether or not our students are invited to come back to participate as a mentor. So the program in itself is very competitive to continue forward, but almost all of our students, we do find success with them because the curriculum over the spring has trained them to do so. Some of the things we offer specifically for our juniors, seniors, the California Forum for Diversity in Graduate Education was a phenomenal program that's offered here in California, and our students are able to consider grad school for the first time for some of them. By participating in the program, they are able to go to workshops and see different schools. There's a huge recruitment fair at the end of the program. It's a full-day professional development opportunity for them to start thinking about research topics and maybe majors and personal statements and the things that they're going to have to think about as they are considering graduate school. At the end of the program, which is probably the most beneficial and probably why all of them came, is they get a Princeton Review prep course. So whether that's for the GRE, the GMAT, the LSAT, and that's like almost a $500 value specifically just for attending. Something else we also offer is a partnership with professional development. So you can see here there is a calendar listed, and they do internship opportunities, employment opportunities, strategies for being able to interview well, and all those things are offered for the general population, but we are specifically creating a professional development first-gen track. So that's an ongoing discussion that we are having with our professional development committee. This last slide is just to show you a little bit about the numbers that we have here at the U of R. So we do have a 90.5% first generation graduation rate, and this is for 4 years. So we just say 91% four-year graduation rate, and we track specifically those students who have attended Summer Bridge. So that is how we code. So if you have attended Summer Bridge, you receive a special code in our system, and then you're tracked for the 4 years. And so we are at 91% retention rate, which is pretty excellent for our institution. And then the last slide is just my contact information. We have several programs that I didn't discuss today, but I would definitely be willing and excited to have any follow-up conversations with anyone who's interested. And with that, I will hand it over to Matt.
Great. Thanks so much, Priscilla and Leslie, too. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I want to hear more about the Sex Olympics. That sounds like fun. But joking aside, I want to remind everybody that we are going to leave time for questions and answers. If you have any questions for any or all of us, please type those into your chat boxes, or maybe you want to share something unique that you're doing at your school in support of first gens and leadership development and training. Before we get to the Q&A, I wanted to go through a few last slides to recap. Florida and Redlands really exemplify how CSO college partners form a strong network of peer institutions that are similarly committed to supporting first-gen students, and through our partnership are able to share ideas and exchange what's working and successful. Again, to recap, through our programs, we promote and strengthen college partners' efforts to recruit and retain first gens. We help you reach prospective students and their supporters, and we facilitate opportunities for college partners to share best practices and learn about successful models for recruiting and retaining first gens. For those of you who this might have piqued your interest and you'd like to apply, here's a web page to go to. We're accepting applications through May 31st to begin partnership on July 1st. We review and approve new college partner applications twice a year. This is the next upcoming deadline. Institutions who do apply should be four-year residential colleges and universities that share our commitment to supporting first-gen students. Our college partners are generally characterized as institutions with at or above average retention and graduation rates, and that they are able to demonstrate a clear commitment to first-gen students by the campus programs and support services available to them. In the application, you'll want to be prepared to briefly answer questions about your school's mission, history, relevant data on your first-gen student population, retention and graduation rates. You'll share some brief information about campus programs that support first-gen students academically, socially, as well as financially. You'll also want to be asked to share some details about any campus-sponsored programs or partnerships that are reaching beyond your gates and supporting first-gen pre-college students locally and or nationally, as well as providing contacts, campus contacts who would be involved in the application. After an application is received, we will schedule a phone interview with you to dig a little bit deeper and learn some more before we confer and confirm your acceptance into our partnership. From there, we would have our college partners sign an agreement and initiate the partnership, including setting you guys up on the imfirst.org website and issuing the partnership contribution invoice. So I think with that, I want to leave this slide up again, which has the three of our respective contact information, and then turn it over to Roseanne to moderate any questions that may be coming in.
Thank you. That was really, really great information. I think the two things that stands out the most for me is why the first generation concept or term is so powerful is because those experiences are not related to just one ethnic group or one race or anything like that. You can be from any walk of life and be first generation. So I think there's some potential there to look at first generation students in a way that is inclusive and provides kind of this new idea that everyone can be anyone may be first generation. So I think there's something there. There's something there in the terminology and in the concept. So that stood out for me. And the second thing that stands out is that no matter where you turn, mentorship programs and bridge programs continue to come up as a best practice. So it boggles the mind why we're not doing them much more across the board, and how people struggle to get them on their campuses or in their nonprofits. But every time I hear a report or a presentation like this, it's clear that mentorship programs and bridge programs are one of the best practices out there. So thanks for reiterating that to our audience. Are there any questions? I'm looking to see if any questions are coming up on the panel here. And while I'll wait for those, I do have one. I'll get the ball rolling. And I was wondering if there's been any pushback around singling these students out, either by the administration or other students who don't identify as first generation, and how the campuses have been managing that, if indeed there has been any pushback.
I don't know if you're looking for me to respond there, or Leslie or Priscilla, kind of from the campus perspective on the ground.
Sure. This is Leslie. I can chime in real quick. So our program started in 2006, so it'll be about 10 years, this next year. And I was here on campus in 2006, and I think there was some early concern about who's going to really want to identify as a Match in Florida Opportunity Scholar, because it's basically saying, that I'm from a poor, uneducated family. Like, nobody's really going to want to wear your T-shirts. Well, that's actually not been the case. I think it's been really intentional that we have, or I know it's been really intentional that, they're scholars. They're admitted to the University of Florida, which is, says a lot, because they're a pretty academically talented, university. And so they're admitted before we ever identify that they're first generation or low income for our program. So we actually, I think the challenge or the concern was maybe positive at the beginning that this could be something we run up against, but longer term, that really hasn't proved to be the case. And back to the storytelling a little bit, once our students start to tell their stories and how they came to the University of Florida and how, they're now a Gator, and that they have felt, for the most part, very included and embraced on this campus. Our university partners and faculty and staff often, anytime we host an event and they attend, they say, how can I get more involved? I want to be a life coach. I want to be an advocate. So, our program is really pretty beloved here on campus. So thankfully, we haven't had the resistance that you might expect.
Okay, thank you. There are some more questions here. Priscilla, did you want to respond as well?
Yeah, I was going to kind of echo a little bit of Leslie's sentiments. Sure. Our program here, all of our first-gen completing the cycle programs are pretty well received also. We haven't really received any institutional pushback whatsoever on supporting our first-gen students. If anything, we have some students who are like, hey, I want to be part of Summer Bridge, who maybe aren't, part of who don't identify as first-gen, and we definitely provide them with, other support services if they would like it. But yeah, I think institutionally, the U of R definitely supports our first-gen programming.
Okay. So our next question comes from Matthew Clifford from Wake Forest, and it's a two-part question. The first one is trying to understand or find out if you're going to move toward a non-residential college or university. So are you looking to support community colleges, two-year colleges in your future plans? And in addition, and also commuter colleges that are four-year colleges. We have a lot of those in urban areas. And then secondly, how the students identify on the application. Do they say I'm first generation, or is there some other way that they identify themselves that is code for that?
Sure. So I think a couple people actually submitted a question along the lines of why is I'm First only partnering with four-year colleges. Appreciate the question. Very good question. We're well aware that so many low-income first-generation college students are choosing two-year college options after high school, and many are supporting those students well in persisting on to the bachelor's degree. But I guess we're at a point right now where we're starting to look at a two-year program. Our board's founding interest and founding mission was kind of a response to seeing how so many first-gen students are choosing post-secondary options that aren't helping them complete a degree. Many two-year colleges, for-profit online colleges, even some non-selective like commuter schools. Statistically speaking, retention and graduation rates for low-income first-generation college students leave a lot to be desired. And so our focus initially has been helping inform and educate these students and their supporters that four-year colleges do care about these students and do have good programs in place that can make the four-year college realistic and accessible and even affordable. And by the numbers, we see that that first-gen students who do start at a four-year college after high school persist and graduate at much higher rates. And so in helping to kind of raise that batting average, so to speak, we've initially focused on promoting the four-year college experience for first-generation college students. But we're not slighting the two-year option or other post-secondary options. We understand that for many students, that is the best choice for them after high school, and because of that, we're looking into now how we can better address that and find a place to recognize and work with the two-year colleges that are excelling with serving the first-gen population.
Thank you. I want to make a correction that those complement of questions came from Candace Brown and Kelly Wilson at Austin Community College. And the question about how they identify on the application is from Chantel Washington. So are they identifying?
I'm not sure if that question is for me or for my colleagues on the college side. In terms of students who are signing up for the I'm First community, it is self-identified, self-reported, and when you're signing up, you're checking a box to affirm that you are first or will be a first-generation college student, and by our definition, that means neither parent has a four-year college degree, and I think that's becoming the more commonly accepted definition. I think more and more colleges are asking that question on their own admissions applications. The Common App is starting to consider if and how they'll add that question to their application. But there are other ways too that colleges I know are able to identify first-gen status. I think the Common App does allow the applicant to provide information about their parents' educational attainment, and so by reporting whether their parents have a college degree or a terminal degree, then they can assess first-gen students that status that way. Maybe Leslie or Priscilla, you have other insights into how you guys are identifying and tracking first-gen students for your school.
This is Priscilla. We also use the information from the Common App, so they're able to identify, as you said, their parent educational history, and so we're able to flag at that point in our system that if a parent does not have a degree, then they are classified as first-gen.
This is Leslie at UF. We also do the admissions application similarly, and then we also pull from the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and that's also how we verify we look in both places.
Okay. We have one more question from Kelly Wilson at Austin Community College. Do the programs at the University of Florida and University of Redlands support non-traditional students? If so, what is the percentage?
When she says non-traditional students, does she mean like non-traditionally aged students? Maybe Kelly can clarify.
Yeah, when I read it, that's what I thought she meant, the non-18 to 21-year-old student, which again is a very common or very popular demographic in maybe perhaps some of the 2 years. Yes, she says non-traditional, meaning the non-18 to 21-year-old student. Correct. Mm-hmm.
So this is Leslie. I don't know if Priscilla was going to chime back in, sorry. By and large, we don't have a whole lot of non-traditional age students here at the University of Florida. I mean, if they qualified for our program, we would definitely support them, but I've come across very few. I think if we expand the definition of non-traditional, we've had some undergraduate students who are parents who have been in our program that we support. Either they have come to college with a child or have a child while in college. So there's that group. We also have students who were formerly in foster care who are independent students who are part of our program. And then the other kind of caveat when you think about non-traditional anyways here at UF is we're beginning a lot of online programs. And so some of our first generation students will maybe opt to or be admitted into online programs. And so we're just beginning the how do we kind of expand our support services to that population.
And I think for the University of Redlands, so we have an incoming first year, freshman student class of about 650. And so in addition to that, we have about 100 transfer students. So those students can be non-traditional age. Also, U of R has a large veteran student population. So those also potentially would be not traditional student aged as well.
Okay, thank you. I think one more question. Can you share a little bit more information, Matt, about how we can share with our students about your scholarship?
Sure. Actually, our scholarship application is open right now. It's really for matriculating freshmen right now. So graduating seniors who are attending one of our partner colleges, imfirst.org/scholarship. Should take you to the page with information about that and the online application. It's a $4,000 scholarship, $1,000 a year, 4-year renewable. And what's cool about it, as I mentioned, is in addition to the financial award, these students become bloggers on our website, and through their college experiences, are able to talk about what's going on and give advice and encouragement to those who are utilizing our website. So to the extent that you guys are already in touch with some of your incoming first generation college students, or will be, definitely want to encourage you to pass that scholarship opportunity along. Roseanne, if we have 1 minute, there was a good question that I think slipped through the cracks from Joel. And he asked, and this is for Priscilla and Leslie, he wanted to know what your thoughts of having professional staff as mentors are. Their campus has had struggles in the past with student-led peer-to-peer mentorship.
Thank you for catching that.
This is Priscilla. Well, as I said, we also include a faculty or administrative mentor as part of our STEP Fall program, and generally those relationships continue on, hopefully all 4 years. So I think we have a little bit of a hybrid model. So I'm not sure if Leslie wants to comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, our professional staff mentors that we've used as life coaches primarily have been able to build great relationships with our students. I think some of it is considering how expectations are communicated and how students are maybe given the support or the training on how to interact. And I think some professional staff mentors can easily maybe be turned off if they get kind of a, hey, how are you doing kind of email. And so I think for us, it's setting up the expectations and kind of giving some of that training on the front end so that and sometimes we found our professional staff and faculty mentors also need to understand what the expectations are as well for that relationship, and hopefully they're being responsive back to the students as needed too. So I think if you set up expectations and put together some sort of training, either online training or kind of conversation ahead of time with both parties, we found it to be pretty successful. But we also have a peer mentor program too for first-year students that I didn't discuss in this. So I think there's pros and cons to professional faculty mentors in addition to then also peer mentors.
And I just want to jump in with one more comment also. So a lot of the faculty and administrative mentors that support our program are also first gen, so I think they have a personal desire to continue to support this community, so maybe reaching out to find out maybe if there are any professional staff members who also identify as first gen. That could be a good way to recruit as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, Priscilla. We pay attention to that too, so thanks for saying that.
Well, thank you. We've come to the end of the hour, and I want to thank again Matt, Leslie, and Priscilla for sharing this valuable information with all of us. If there are any questions, or if you all want to connect and didn't catch the emails, here they are again. Take a picture with your iPhone or Android, or you can just email me and let us know if you have some ideas yourself for what kinds of best practices you would like to see shared on these webinars, or if you yourself have a best practice. We want to make sure that the information gets out to all of our constituents. So once again, thank you. Check out first.org for more information. And I, again, thank all of you. I hope you have a great rest of the semester and that your summer plans are going to be fabulous. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.